I want to ask you all a question. Right now, on this Friday afternoon, sitting in the doghouse, how do you feel about your life? Some of you may be disappointed, thinking and hoping that things would be going better right now. Some of you may be completely satisfied because you have everything planned out from A to Z. Others may feel completely crushed because your lifelong dreams have just been ruined and you have no idea what's going to happen next. And finally, some of you may just be content because life is a roller coaster and you're just along for the ride. I want to introduce to you all an idea. The idea that over the span of our lives, we run multiple 5Ks. And each 5K, 3.1 miles, is made up of different challenges and different paces. Over the course of each 5K, we slow down, we speed up. Sometimes we just have to idle for a little bit and not go anywhere. So for me, high school was a very good pace. I was content, I was jogging, everything was great. You could say I was satisfied because I had everything planned out from A to Z. And then there was this 2-year span from May of 2015, graduation, and August of 2017, where I was completely idling. You see, I felt crushed because my lifelong dreams had just been ruined. I decided after high school to stay home and go to a community college. Most of my friends moved away to new towns and universities, making an impact on their campus. But after I went through that difficult college process that we're all familiar with, I was left questioning if all of my hard work that I had put into my extracurricular activities and my GPA, if it was actually worth it, and if all my hard work would ever pay off. So I decided to stay home, go to a community college, stay living with my parents. And it was very difficult because most of the time I felt like I wasn't moving. If at all, I was walking, but a lot of the time I felt like I was idling, and sometimes I felt like I was digressing because everyone was moving forward and I wasn't doing anything. Now, I don't want anyone to get confused and think that I hated this time of my life because I actually really enjoyed it. You see, I was, one, saving money because living at home, still going to college, learning more about small businesses, one of my many passions, spending a lot of time with my family, board game nights all the time. I was able to sing in church, referee recreation league soccer, and even do some fun traveling. But the entire time that I was in this stage, there was one question that was always on my mind. What's next? And so as I entered into the spring of 2017, that's exactly what everyone began to ask me. More often than not, people would go, "Hey, Maddie, what's next for you? Where are you going to transfer to?" I had no idea. I was idling. I never felt called to go one way or the other. And so this is when my anxiety really began. I began to have chest pains because I had no idea what was coming next. You see, at that moment of my life, I couldn't see what was to come. But what I really couldn't see is that I was being prepared for what was to come and what was next. So during these 2 years of my life, there were a few key moments that happened. The main one being when a close friend introduced me to a cute coffee shop in Fairhope, Alabama. This coffee shop became a home away from home for me. It was a place where I could sit and study for hours and get the best caffeine buzz of my life. But the more I went there, the more I began to slow down and get to know those around me. Maybe it was the regular that I had seen 10 times. He was there every day at the same table, working from his old school MacBook. And one day I found out he's actually from Cuba. Or maybe it was the baristas, who every time I went in encouraged me to get a different drink, each time straying away from sugar and focusing more on the quality of the coffee they served. Throughout my time there, I came to realize that there are things in life that bring us together. There's a certain social atmosphere that there are certain things that bring us to. This coffee shop was a place where people would put their differences aside and they would bond over the coffee. But you see, a coffee shop is not the only thing that has that. There are other things. Maybe an SEC football game, maybe a concert on Main Street, or maybe a 5K. So I began to develop new passions. Yes, there was this passion for high-quality coffee that the baristas taught me, but there was a passion for things that bring people together. And so this is when I developed my first realistic business idea. And the idea was to capture that warm social atmosphere, put it on wheels in the form of a coffee truck, and take it to the people. We wanted to go where the masses would be. Maybe that was an SEC football game, a concert on Main Street, or a 5K. And when I finally had this idea, I found that there was hope in the future. There was more ideas within me and passions developing. And so my life began to pick up speed. I was finally walking faster and jogging. And when I arrived on a campus at Mississippi State in August of 2017, I did my best to dive deep in campus involvement. I found myself at an entrepreneurship club pitch night, listening to different business pitches of all kinds of crazy ideas. By November of 2017, I started my first business and even had business partners, people who believed in me and believed in my idea. So what we did is plan to have a coffee truck that encompassed the social atmosphere of a coffee shop and took it to the people, making coffee more convenient for everyone. There was a drive that I had for high-quality coffee and for bringing people together that pushed me to work on this idea every day. So now I'm a full-time student, a CEO, probably a loosely used term at that point, and I was offered a job in March in the Entrepreneurship Center on campus as a student client specialist, which what I do there is help other students start their own business. So they were once in my shoes. I was in their shoes, I guess. And so life began to really pick up speed at this point. I felt as if I was moving faster, and I was just so overwhelmed with everything I was doing. Once it would be 50 miles per hour, then 60, and it kept getting up to where I felt as if I was running 1,000,000 miles per hour without the ability to slow down. I thought to myself, I am finally running my race. This is what I've always wanted to do. But there were moments when I would get so overwhelmed in all the chaos. We got further into the business, and we began to pivot. And instead of focusing on the social atmosphere, we focused on the backstory of coffee, the roasting process that people don't ever think about or see. We began to focus on what has to happen to go into that perfectly brewed cup of coffee you go buy from your favorite coffee shop, the quality and the care that goes into it. And so everything got overwhelming. So I would have to take time to sit back and reflect when things were a little too hectic. And when I would reflect, I would think to a year or two before, when I was at home, going to Coastal Alabama Community College and had no idea where my life was going and no idea the journey I would embark on. I began to realize that those 2 years at home, I was being prepared for what was to come. And without those 2 years at home, I would not have the endurance to run the race I did 1 year ago and the race that I run to this day. I also wouldn't have the appreciation for it. I wouldn't understand the value of what I do now or the opportunities that are set before me. And so this all brings me back to the idea that life is like a 5K or multiple 5Ks. I don't know how long each 5K lasts. It's different for everybody. But through different 5Ks, we all go through different phases of life. So let's look at mile 1. For me, mile 1 was high school. Steady, a consistent pace. This is a time when you can build relationships with the people around you as you all begin your journey together. But one interesting thing about the beginning of a 5K is that everyone runs for a different reason. The truth is, very few people actually show up to win. Most people show up maybe part of a personal fitness journey. Maybe it's a family, and they all decide that they want to run this 5K together. Or maybe it's just someone who loves to run, and that's why they show up. And so during this time, ask people why they run. Get to understand where they come from and what they do. Because along your journeys, you never, ever know who you're going to meet. And this is also a time when people may pass you, or you may pass people. And that is totally okay, because you're running your race, and they are running theirs. And then you get over to mile 2. For me, mile 2 was hard. It was slow. I was idling, and sometimes I felt as if I was moving backwards, missing out on opportunities. This is a time when you can save money, if you're like me. It's a time when you get to slow down and really appreciate the life you live. A time when you find hope for the future. A time for you to really latch on to the people beside you and encourage them and get to know them. This is also a time when you're going to get passed a lot. People are going to run past you left and right. And in those moments, you should be joyful for their success rather than being jealous of their success. Because remember, you're running your race and they're running theirs. And then we approach mile 3. It's time to speed up. Yay! We made it! The finish line is almost there. This is when life takes off. At least that's how it was for me. And this is a time whenever you pass a lot of people. And sometimes you can get so absorbed on the finish line that you forget about those around you. It's so important as you pass people in this stage to encourage them along the way, whoever you pass. Give them a pat on the back, introduce yourself, encourage them, and move on. It's also a time when we may get a little bit of an ego, thinking, wow, look at my race, I'm running faster than everyone else. No, that's not the case. You're running your race, and they're running theirs. And then you get to the finish line, a time where you can look back at that 3.1 miles that you ran, and you can see how you did, a time of reflection. How did you handle the tough times? How did you handle the slow times or the fast times? Did you encourage those who were around you? Did you truly run your race? Or were you too caught up trying to run someone else's? I encourage you all to run your race. Because you see, there's a race that was mapped out for you and only you. And you're the only person that's able to run it. You're going to come across many trials. You may bear many burdens right now. Defeat, shame, disappointment, fear, anxiety, whatever it is. Strip off your burdens and run your race with endurance. Run the race that was set before you. Don't ever run anybody else's race because you won't succeed. Run your race and let everyone else run theirs. Thank you.